Is the trivia niche a good niche to go into? In this video, I'm going to answer that question by looking at a couple of keywords from the trivia niche, do a competition analysis, and a discussion of how I would monetize the niche. So let's get started with the keyword. The first keyword that I thought of was Mother's Day trivia questions. Obviously, this one will be very relevant at one time of year and it'll be a spike. But there's plenty of other trivia niche keywords, things like trivia questions about cars, trivia questions about, and then insert the movie, right? Like Toy Story or whatever movie that you can think of. There's going to be search volume for days for trivia questions. Trivia questions for, and then insert whatever it is, you'll get tons of questions. But let's quickly look at the Mother's Day trivia questions one. It's showing there is some search volume. As I said, there would be a lot of search volume at a very specific time of year and not much for the rest of the year, I think. But let's just say, look, 170 search volume per month. That's probably been averaged out over the 12 months. So you might get like 3,000 or 4,000 on the month that Mother's Day is on. And then if we were to look at the keywords or the ranking articles, the first thing I notice here is the Moz domain authority for all of them, or nearly all, except for this one outlier that's got a 62 DA. We've got 26, 26, 29, 24, and a 19. So the domain authority of the competitors is quite low. Instantly, I think, okay, this is a niche where niche sites are competing. This isn't a big niche where we've got really big players competing for the keywords. We've got niche sites competing, meaning you can compete as well with your niche website. But one thing I have noticed doing a little bit of analysis for the last few minutes is just about every keyword or every obvious keyword has already been written on. So you're going to want to compete. You're going to have to compete for the SERPs. You're not going to have wide open SERPs where no one's ever written the keyword. You're going to have to compete. But in this day and age, with the SERPs getting so crowded these days, you're probably going to have to compete no matter what niche you go into. So just to summarize this slide, I do think that there is low enough competition in this niche that you can succeed if you put some effort into it. Let's jump over to some keywords now. So I just used keywords sheeter here to spit out a few keywords based on trivia questions about, and then I let keyword sheeter fill in the answers. And you can see here that we've got a ton of keywords that we can go after. Disney, Harry Potter, family, friends, music, animals, movies, food, couples, etc. This is just the beginning. Honestly, within 5 minutes of looking at this niche, I instantly knew that I would never run out of potential keywords to write about. So that's a sort of a basic, a bit of a starter. I'll actually leave a doc underneath here with the whole list of the ones that I got keyword sheeted to spit out. So if you want to go into the niche, you can get started with that. What I would do is I would go type every single one of these keywords into Google, and then I would do a manual check. Say, look, how competitive is this going to be? Are the top ranking articles, have they all got high DA according to Moz? And have they got thin content? Click into the articles and see like how well detailed are these answers. Which gets me to a couple of points. How would you try to get ahead? If you're writing on these keywords, how are you going to get ahead of the other people when you've got a domain authority of 0 and your competitors have got domain authorities in the 20s or 30s? Well, one thing I'll do is I would make sure that I outlisticle on them. So for the example of Mother's Day trivia questions, the top one is Trivia Togo, which has got a DA of just 19, which is absolutely nothing. They've got 120 Mother's Day trivia questions. So instantly I'd say, all right, I'm going to write 150 Mother's Day trivia questions. Give more value so that people are going to click on yours and not theirs. Scrolling down, I also did find that there was a lot of thin content, which usually for me is a great sign that I can target the niche. So what I mean by thin content is on the right hand side here, you can see an example of one article about Mother's Day questions. And usually, this isn't just for the Mother's Day keywords, but for every keyword. Usually the content is just question, a short sentence, and then a couple of multiple choice answers, and then question again, a couple of multiple choice answers. I would want to add more detail. And the thing that I'm thinking of is the person who's going to be coming to your website is going to be a trivia master, someone who runs the pub trivia down the road every Monday night or Thursday night or whatever. Or they might even run a couple of trivia nights each week, and they're going to be coming back to your website over and over again to get answers. And that trivia master isn't just going to want to say, name Liza Minnelli's famous mum, and then you select whichever one it is. They're probably going to want to say, okay, I'm going to do the question, but afterwards, I'm probably going to want to show off my knowledge and say, well, Liza Minnelli's famous mum was Marilyn Monroe. I actually don't know the answer, but let's say Marilyn Monroe, and she was famous for X, Y, and Z, and sort of give them a bit of a spiel to talk about when they're giving out the answers to the questions in trivia night. Give them some information so they can show off that they're a really knowledgeable trivia master. So I'd have a paragraph underneath each explaining the answer to the question and giving a couple of more fun facts for the trivia master to be able to present. So that's how I would try to get ahead. More answers for each of them than all of my competitors, plus additional detail for the trivia masters so they get more value from my site out of someone else's site. They spend more time on my site. Google can read through it and see that I've got a lot more detail and I go into a lot more depth in my responses for the trivia masters who are coming to the website to find the answers. Okay, on to monetization. The obvious play for this is display advertising, and I did see that most of the competitors were on Ezoic, but I actually think that you could probably get to well over 100,000 page views per month within a year for this niche. It's a niche with just so many keywords. It's remarkable. So I would start with display advertising and try to shoot it to the moon to get it up to about 100,000 page views per month, and then get it onto AdThrive or Mediavine. Next, I would build a mailing list, and this is where I think the competitors in this niche are doing a really poor job. This niche is specifically helping trivia masters to put together trivia questions each week so that they can go and do their pub trivia. What you would want to do is you would want to build a mailing list for trivia masters and promise them a list of weekly trivia questions based on the news for the week, so that they always have, if they've got pub trivia on a Monday night, they want to go to their email inbox on a Sunday or a Monday morning, and they want to see a list of really, really good quality, relevant questions that they can put into their trivia questions for the week. So that's what you want to do. You want to get them onto your mailing list and keep sending them lists of trivia questions. You could even send them just the link to the blog post for the week. So all you have to do is write a blog post and send it off as a newsletter blast each week, and then they click onto it, they come to your website, and then you get a bit of money from them looking at the article, and you get the ad money from it, right? But that's not where the value of the newsletter is really going to come from. The value of the newsletter is going to be offering a paid membership tier for trivia masters so they can buy the trivia slides for you each week. So instead of them having to put together 4 or 5 hours of work each week putting together a really good trivia quiz, they just buy it off you. So you're solving a problem for them. You're saying, look, here's your trivia questions, go and do your trivia, and you'd put together some really nice slides each week and then say, look, it's $10 a week. $10 a week, save you 5 hours of your time, and you can go and you can look like an absolute hero. You can read out the questions. You've got the PowerPoint slides that you can put up at the pub, and you can even, as I said, you're going to want to give some in-depth or a paragraph explaining the answer to each question so that they can look like a hero, showing their depth of knowledge. So that's what your play is going to be. If you can get, let's say, 1,000 trivia masters paying you $10 a week in buying your slides, so you're just solving a very simple question for them. It's only going to be $10 a week for them. They're probably being paid like $200 by the local pub to go and do these trivia questions, and you're making $10,000 a week, $40,000 a month, because you went to more effort than all these other trivia sites, and you actually got those trivia masters onto your mailing list, and you sold them a product, and it's a recurring product, right? It's only going to take you 5 hours each week to put that product out, and for those 5 hours you just made $10,000. I think it's a pretty good idea, but something that you're going to want to keep in mind is there is a bit of competition, so it's going to be a bit of a slow start. I'd say the first 6 months is going to be tough, but the competition is medium to low DR. There are endless keywords. I can't believe how many keywords there are with high search volume in this niche, and I would probably want to buy a few links and make sure that I'm creating better quality content, to make sure that I'm adding value, so that when I get off the ground, then I can get all those people on my mailing list. And I do think it's a mailing list play as well as a display advertising play. And the problem in this niche so far is that everyone has just created thin content, and they haven't aimed high enough. They've only aimed for display advertising revenue. They're missing a big opportunity to solve a problem for trivia masters that could make them a lot of money.